Hello everyone, thank you for taking time out of your day to meet with us. My name is Jacob, I'm an Op 1 on first shift, and I'll let everyone else go around the room and tell them about themselves.
My name is Ariane. I am Op 1 on first shift.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm an Op 2 on second shift.
I'm Michael, Op 1 on second shift.
My name is Adela. I'm working third shift.
Yeah, my name is Juara Nani. I'm working third shift.
Alright, the problem that we wanted to focus on was miscounts on boxes, and more specifically how we can prevent the scales from dying on the floor. So for an example that we've all had is we've gone out there, been out there for an hour or two, and our scales go down, and we lose all that data on the scale. So then you'd have to take time to go get your new scale if you can afford to do that if you're on automotive. If you're not, then you have to ask another op to go get you another scale. So you lose that data, you have to leave the press, grab a new scale, and all that time you're losing out on the quality of the parts that you're looking at now. To address the problems, there's a lack of knowledge on the scales and how they work and use them, so it's better training. And not having a system in place to prevent the scales from dying, aka charging station.
Solution. Our solution is a rack. One rack. It's basically a one-stop shop where we're going to have our scales and all the supplies that go with the scales in one stop. So it's going to have our bag parts, our scales, everything that goes with that. We plan to do that by having instructions for our scale setup in 3 different languages, including Spanish, English, and Kinyarwanda. Sign-in, sign-out sheets for our scales and pre-bag parts, and it makes easier accessibility for our pre-bag parts, and last, having more charger cords for the scales itself.
Some of our potential roadblocks on creating the success of the charging station is a sign-in, sign-out sheet. The solution for that is to hold the operator twos and the leads accountable into making sure they are properly filling out the sign-out sheet and not just wasting time and not doing it. Another one would be the pre-bagged way, the bags not being used properly or misplaced. But the solution is to include that bag with a sign-out sheet, so that way when the operator Op 2 or lead is done with it, they can replace that bag back onto the charging station. The third one would be not enough power cords, and our solution for that is to replace the essential equipment. So if you go to the charging station and you get a power cord and you're done using it, make sure you bring it back, because there's always going to be someone else who's going to need it, and they're not going to want to go hunting and searching for it. The fourth one would be a disorganized charging station. That one might be one of our potential bigger roadblocks. The solution is to designate someone from each one of the shifts to go through, and when they're done clocked out, just take a few minutes to go back to the station to make sure it looks like that. As you can see, everything is organized, it's set. That way you don't have to go to the other side of the shelf to get a bag, it's just all right there for us. Our solution for that is we have designated us 6. Jacob and I are going to be the first shift representatives. Michael and Elizabeth are going to be the second shift representatives. And Jola and Juara are going to be our third shift representatives. And then the fifth and potential other major roadblock is going to be improper use of scales. The solution is to properly train every employee on how to use the scales. During orientation, learning the scale can be kind of tricky because it's only spent on a couple minutes. So if we actually take a few more minutes to properly train everybody and make sure they understand completely how to use the scales, it would be so much more beneficial. Because I know in my experience, I've messed the scales up a few times. And I've had to go and hunt someone to help me. Thank you.
And now we're going to do a demonstration. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, we first fill out the sign out sheet with the correct information, your scale number, person signing it out, press number, date, and then pre-bag parts. Once you do that, you find the right instructions you need for the right language. Grab the scale, got the pre-bag parts that you're looking for if needed, and bring it to the person you
Press station.
It's all right.
No drinking on the floor.
So any questions? That's what it is. All right.
So we split it. We split up our roles the best we could. I was created the PowerPoint and made sure that we had enough power strips for the charging station. Michael built the rack for the charging station. Ariane worked on the inventory of the number of scales and chargers we had on the floor. Juara and Ajola worked on organizing and cleaning up the areas, making sure we had a nice area there. And Elizabeth did the sign out sheet and translation of the scale training. So in conclusion, we wanted to make sure that the scale station was all in better communication between each shift and having more knowledgeable operators out there on the floor via making sure that there's no miscounts or doing our best. Having a decrease in miscounts and having the press having the ops leave their press to grab another scale or charger. This will also give the ops more time to have better quality of parts when they're looking. And any questions?
Well done. Well done.
How did the team that did the bagging, right, a few classes or cohorts ago, how'd they feel about this kind of growing off of their project and the way you were plugging them into it?
Well, what we noticed was that the bags,
Mhm.
they were back behind the supervisor's area out there, and I don't know if they were even being used. They were just back there. I don't know if they didn't get sent to, the information wasn't getting trickled down to the operators that, hey, we have these bags weighed out, because I didn't even know they were back there. So we thought that maybe if we bring the bags out and put them next to the scales, they're going to be seen and used more often. Now they know that, hey, I'll just grab this bag when I need to tear and resample.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting there putting out, 30, 40 pieces.
We did actually talk to Becky about that as well, and she was okay with it.
Great.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm again, just embarrassed I don't know the answer to this, but why don't we have a scale at every press that's plugged in all the time at the press, where we're not having to carry them around and.
Some of the issues with that is, there's not really places where you can, some of the presses don't have places where you can plug them in without them being in the way. So that's why we thought if we had a charging system and a sign out sheet, it would be easier because we would always have access to scales that are already charged.
Okay.
Another issue is the cell setups change. Typically, so when they tear down a cell, usually there's not necessarily a place to keep that scale at the press because of the tear down. So by having one centralized location, that scale has a place to go back to as a home, and the op2s would then bring it back when they set up this press again for another run.
I hear it, I trust you all, but I'm still carrying scales all over the place. Just seems like having one, like for the small presses.
We do it on a daily anyways. I mean, technically when we tear down our presses and set them up, depending on the press that uses a scale, we have to go find them. That's the issue, is going to find them and they're dead. Or they die halfway through because we're already doing it anyways. That's what we're doing, a part of our daily job actually.
Right. So I would just ask you guys to consider, some of the presses almost always have a scale at them, so why couldn't we just have those presses that anchor down and kind of permanently plugged in where you don't ever have to go find one, right?
That's great.
Just a thought, so.
Yeah.
I apologize, you guys have to go hunt for stuff, cause that is frustrating. And I should make sure we get that fixed, so thank y'all for helping fix that.
Yes, sir.
So you might kinda ask the question on the pre-bagging, I was curious how that was working, and y'all kinda answered that that wasn't really, so thanks for vetting that out. I guess just supervisors, trainers, why is it not happening?
So the op twos and leads, we're doing it a little bit in the beginning, and then it's kind of fizzled.
Okay, so again, supervisor, why was it not working? No, so if we're doing these, you know, this, y'all put a lot of energy into this, and as
Yeah.
we do these, I owe it to the team to make sure we keep working it till we make it work, right? Otherwise, we don't get these fixed, so. So I'm kinda picking on these guys, but relative to this problem, what do you all need from the leads, supervisors, op twos, and trainers to help make this happen, right? Cause y'all are gonna get it out there and leave, and it sounds like y'all are gonna kinda try to police it a little bit to get it going, but, you know, if you need me to come out and audit it once a week for 2 or 3 weeks, a month, I'm happy to do that, so. Kinda before y'all wrap up, if you can give us some thoughts on what help do you need to just make sure it happens?
I think just team effort with everybody, coming together and just make sure that it stays. Because I think I've talked to a lot of different people that's one of our biggest issues with our miscounts is the scales dying. So, I mean, if we can just all work together and make sure that the area stays the way that it's supposed to, make sure that we stay on as far as our op2s and our leads, the sign out sheet, hold people accountable, I think it'll work great.
Yep, I agree.
I would say, Steven, if you would audit it once a week for the next month, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Right, but I guess I definitely need supervisors, John, Victor. We're letting our BEPU guys down because we're not helping get and the crux of these ideas, if we don't, because you're right, if everybody would just do it, it would work great, but
Absolutely.
good heavens, the number of things that we haven't had that happen on is just, that's the secret sauce, right? We will be amazing once we can get everybody doing the things we say we're gonna do. So, a great job getting this mapped out, and, for sure.
Any other questions, thoughts,
I had
input?
one, so you all mentioned on the scale training that we did, if I saw up there that we got the language for the scale training translated, so what all languages did we get that in?
English, Spanish, and Kinyarwanda.
Great job.
And samples of that are sitting right by you,
Yep, we
Steven.
have all the samples right
Yeah,
there.
like anyone
Okay. But is this one that we did the videos on?
We've done that a video on it as well, so we have it both a visual and now a written one for both.
And we plan on having those right at the one-stop shop, as you, if you will. That way we'll have copies of them and we can take them right to the presses, so that way if an operator looks, oh, I don't know how to do this, they'll have it right there.
Or if they need a refresher.
Yeah, or a
Anybody needs a
refresher.
refresher,
Right.
they're gonna be there.
And then we had the idea of the prior class of the places for the scales to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
That's
We have samples on the floor, actually, we used one Wednesday.
There's 2 housings we've had made and are currently in use.
I know one housing is right next to the
Yeah,
scale.
we've seen it in use actually the other day.
So for those will just have a scale stay in them?
Yeah. Well, it's more of like a,
Portable, right?
like an ice shanty kind of thing where you're like, you stick, so there's no floor, you know what I mean? It's like you would put the scale on the table and then you would stick it over it.
It's a mobile unit, what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying like the scale isn't gonna stay inside of it.
Mhm.
You would put it
So
over.
what I'm saying is, does this idea incorporate how those are getting, how do I have one of those where I need one of those? Because it's gonna be the same problem as the scale, right?
Right.
I need one of those, but I don't have one, I gotta go hunt it up and find it, and there's 6 on this one press and one
So
in
we
the
were
garbage.
actually looking to find a home for them as well, and hopefully if we can get that computer moved and everything on that one side, we can have them right across from each other.
At the same
Yeah,
station.
absolutely.
Do they break down, or are they just once they're built,
I
they're
don't
built?
think they
They're
break
pretty
down.
bulky, but those are gonna be more press specific than everything else. You know what I mean? Cause we know the problem spots for those.
Yeah,
Just
And that's
absolutely.
where
the
that's where
fans
they're gonna
blowing.
stay, probably. Yeah. Like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It's great, great. So just any other thoughts of things we can help support you guys on these? And then just prior ideas, we talked about a couple. What about the sign in, sign out things? How's that going?
It's going good. What do you think, Yolanda? Is it going good?
Yeah, it is working. I'm using it every day. Yeah, sometimes.
You can go out there shift change and Yolanda's out there getting your
Yeah.
footboard. Actually though, he was even just, was it yesterday or today?